competence under that one. Then you talked about documentation and recording of all the things that we have that we have gotten through the assessment, through all the skills that it entails. Then lastly, you talked about evaluation and outcome measurement of our intervention, what we have seen, what we have diagnosed, and the intervention. After documenting it, then we evaluate and see the outcome. Then in other that you said the client is expected to be able to discuss the outcome, maybe even from the beginning we can ask what are your expectations. Then at the end of the day, the client should be able to talk about what he or she had gained from the intervention. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much. I still want to know if Folarunsho is live in the class. Well, let's believe he's hearing us.
Okay.
Okay, put the call across. Let's see. You're putting a call across, right? Let me know after calling him if he's there. Hello. Hello. Hello, can we progress? Hello?
Hello, sir. I said I'm trying to call him, but he didn't pick. But I've dropped a message for him now.
It's okay. Let's just move ahead.
All right, sir.
Let's just move ahead.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you. That was what we discussed in the core skills for management skills for social workers. But today we will be talking.
Yes,
we will move a little bit forward and talk about the processes in case management. We'll be specifically going to the key stages of case management process. Key stages of case management process. So, of course, you know that everything social work is a process. The process simply means that one thing leads to the other and it moves from one level to the other. And if those things are laid down in a particular pattern and it works connectively based on the logical arrangement of it, it yields results because social work does not have any other approach than employing the right and proper process. So I will go straight to the stages, the key stages involved, which number one is called engagement case management. Sorry, number one is called engagement case management steps in social work, which simply means that in this initial stage, social workers actively reach out to potential clients, identify
Sorry,
their
sir.
needs.
Sorry, sir. Because engagement. I didn't get the point, sir.
Engagement case
The first key process.
engagement case management steps in social work or engagement uh, steps. It's all you call it stage.
Yes, I heard that.
We call it steps of engaging. Do you understand me?
Okay. Yes, sir.
Engagement.
Steps of engaging.
There's engagement case management steps. So the first
All
stage
right,
is
sir. Go
to
ahead.
engage. So I said in this
Okay.
initial stage, social workers actively reach out to potential clients. They identify their needs and engage them in the process of management, of case management in social work. So case management social work professionals establish rapport, they build trust, and create a supportive environment for the clients. This stage also involves making appropriate referrals to connect clients with the necessary services and resources because sometimes when you engage clients and you realize that after engaging the client case is not within your agency, there'll be no need keeping that client in your agency when you realize that the case is outside the purview of your agency. So you can refer. It's not that once you engage a client and you have listened to a client, you must intervene, whether that belongs to you or not, or is fall within your expertise or not. So that case, that stage also sometimes involve referrals. So I said that during the engagement stage, there's identification of immediate needs for crisis or needs or crisis situation identified. And the initial case management needs case assessment. You must do a assessment at this level. Then overall, the engagement stage of case management in social work is a critical first step that set the tone for the entire process. It establishes trust, builds rapport, and creates a solid foundation for effective collaboration and client-centered care. You can agree with me because I know you have been in practice that anything you get wrong at this stage might reflect in all other stages. And at the end of the day, it might also interfere with the results, overall results of the stage. So I want to think that at this stage, which is the engagement stage, we are advised to be thorough, look at the cases one after the other. It takes more time because it is when we are trying to set a direction on where to go and what to do. So if we go the wrong way, the result will be obvious. If we do the wrong thing, the result will be obvious. So the first stage of the key steps is called engagement. And I repeat again that engagements involve identifying the needs of the clients, and all further engaging them in the process of case management in social work. Like I said, I mentioned here that this stage also is not a stage that once you go into it, you must take it to the end. It's a stage that reveals to you if the case is within your purview. It's a stage that reveals to you if the case belongs to your agency. But once you find out at this stage that this case belongs to counselors, this case belongs to maybe medical people, this case belongs to education people, this case belongs to environmental, this case belongs to disaster managers and the rest and so on, because there are so many other professionals who work for social work, but they are not social workers. So in this case, once you identify this, you can refer them. Instances are there where you do what they call refer and revert. Refer for treatment and revert. So when the client goes out, the clients get a kind of what we can call prophylactic treatment in medical, and thereafter we turn back to you for you to engage in the proper social perspective of it. That is actually focusing towards your own line of intervention. So after this engagement, the next one is called assessment, case management assessment process. So during this stage, social workers conduct a thorough case management assessment of the client's biological, psychological, and social factors. They dive into the biological situation, biological composition, biological analysis, biological circumstances. After which, they also are allowed to go into the psychological issues, psychological templates, psychological presentation, psychological perspective of a client. And the last one, which is your core, are the social factors. So a case management, assessment example will be the process of gathering information about the client's physical health, mental well-being, social support networks, and environmental circumstances. This case management assessment provides a holistic understanding of the client's strengths, their challenges also, and their needs. As this is crucial to social work case management process, it's important here to say that you must be able to stay on top of the case management intakes and assessment regardless of how many clients you work with. What I'm trying to say here is that this case stage is very crucial, and as it is crucial, you don't lose your focus, you don't lose your guard. You must be able to stay on top of the issue itself regardless of how many clients you are dealing with. Invariably, it means that you must have the ability to partition your interface, which means that every client interface is kept in its proper compartment without allowing it to interfere with the other clients. The third stage here is the planning. If you remember the last discussion we had, we talked about the skills. You will now want to ask difference between skills and the stages. The skills reflect in the stages, and the stages reflect in the skills. Because any unwanted skill cannot form part of the stage, and any unwanted stage may not need to develop skills in it. Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
So the third one is planning.
It's clear,
We
sir.
say, we say based on the case management needs assessment findings, social workers collaborate with their clients to develop a comprehensive social work case management plan. The first sentence here is paramount. It says, based on the case management need assessment findings, which simply means that for every plan you are putting down, it must correlate with the findings of the case management assessment. So if you write a case plan and you say there is need to visit the home of this client, you'd have to do hyphen and tell us where that came from. If you also have a plan that the spouse of this client need to be interviewed, you will do hyphen. Social workers in this circumstance uses two different colors. The blue or black indicate your plan. Hyphen with red indicate where they are coming from. So if you look at the standard case plan, you will see two colors. One is at the back and one is in the front. I give you an example. There is a need to visit this client's house for home assessment. Hyphen. From this client's explanation or from this client's discussion, from the client's statement, home environment seems to be a factor because he pointed the fact that he doesn't sleep, he doesn't have access to sleep, he doesn't do this, doesn't do that, doesn't do that. If you are visiting the office too to talk with the colleagues in the office, you give the reason because plans are not allowed to stand on its own. Plans are not supposed to be a wish. Plans are not supposed to be a feel. I am feeling. I had some people say I felt. You don't have to feel. The reason to act must come out clear from whatever is on the ground for you to take a look at. So you can be feeling, you can be thinking, you can be assuming. I hope you understand what I mean.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
You must go in line with the assessment
Yes.
and you
And
indicate
in your
reason
plan,
why they should visit.
for me as your supervisor, I must see your plan and see where you are taking it from before it can be approved for you to go and implement. So sometimes you write 4-7 plans. You can mute your mic if you are not speaking. It helps to control the class. Thank you. If you put up 15 plans for a client and you present to your supervisor or the team sit and ask you questions on why you want to do all those things. If your plan has contained the predicates, that is where they are coming from, it becomes easier for the team to work along with you. You can only weigh and talk about module and operandi of that engagement. So it's important that a standard plan should indicate where that plan is coming from. And that's why I said that based on the case management needs assessment findings, social workers collaborate with the client to develop a comprehensive social work case management plan. It simply also means that the case management plan you are to bring out does not really have to be what you deduct alone. Your deductions must be clarified by the client. When you make your deductions, you cross that with the client. And when the client clarifies that effectively or recast or maybe put it again in a way that becomes clearer, your plans become sharper. If not, if you don't do it that way, by the time you take your isolated plan to action with the client can sometimes tell you, but that is not exactly what I was pointing at. The client can tell you, I didn't mean it that way. The client can tell you, I can't remember telling you this case you are saying. I hope you understand me. So a social work case plan, for example, will be to outline clear and measurable goals that reflect the client's aspiration and areas of improvement. So if your plans are not clear, they are not measurable, they are vague, they are not smart, it really would not make any sense for the group to approve or the team lead to approve for you. Because in every social case work cell, there is a team lead. And like I said in my initial interface, that you are not supposed to be assigned a client and you clerk the client or you assess the client, design a plan, and then went ahead doing or executing whatever you have in mind with the client, only to come and give report. That is not a standard practice. Standard practice requires that you assess the client by clerking, listening, and doing all initial work, and then presenting that deductions in a plan to the cell. then every person who did not sit with the client have the advantage of asking you questions as if they are interfacing with the client in order to sharpen your plan and make the plan to be quite holistic and also produce the desired results. So these goals may encompass various domains such as mental health, housing, stability, employment, education, family, relationship, or overall well-being. A case management plan template mental health practitioners and social workers outlined takes into account the client's preferences and cultural backgrounds, ensuring client-centered approach. In addition, right, a case management plan template for mental health, for example, and social workers also can provide a structural framework to guide the development of individualized plan. So in this case, it is your business to take a look at the plan to be structured in such a way that they provide a guide for the development of individual plan for a particular client. So we take a look at the fourth one, which I call implementation steps. After you are done with your clerking, assessment and clerking, that has to be presented to the cell or to the group or to the team lead who's for a discussion and asking the caseworker to come and defend the plan. Any plan that is not defended is likely to be faulty because each social worker usually in practice look at a case from his or her own perspective, whereas a group will look at the case from different perspectives, and that could provide a more holistic approach to clients' intervention and results as well. So I would say that once the case management social work case plan template is developed, once you have developed the case plan, the template for your case plan, this case plan will surely assist in implementing. But implementation without a case plan, if we walk into many social work agencies and ask them to present their clients, you can see so many clients, but none can easily produce a standard template for the plan that was used in engaging the client and where those plans were developed from in terms of physical write-up materials that we can follow step by step to audit the intervention and agree whether a proper intervention was applied and how it was also applied, whether it was also applied when it's supposed to be applied by looking at the reports one after the other. So it's important as professionals to understand how this work. So when you get to the intervention stage, you have passed the level of assessment. In as much as assessment is a continuous practice in the casework, it might be unprofessional to allow things that just crop up this morning to erode everything that have been on the plan. It has to be taken back to the drawing board. So case management assessments, social workers will then coordinate and facilitate access to services, resources, and interventions identified in the case management social work case plan template. This is one of the stages of case management that involve advocating for the client's need, making appropriate referrals, and ensuring a coordinated approach among service providers. I say that in the implementation stage, social workers have to actively monitor the progress of the client and provide ongoing reports. For every intervention applied, report of that intervention and application must be submitted. They also may assist in scheduling appointments, attending meetings with the clients, or accompanying them to important engagements. Important engagements here are engagements that still has bearing in the cases as we're talking about, not personal engagement. So social workers also offer guidance and encouragement. They help clients overcome their barriers or challenges they may encounter during the implementation of their cases. So To streamline and enhance the implementation process, social workers can leverage social work case management on experience and also leverage on the strength of the plan that has been engaged by colleagues so that it can work specifically within the setting and for the client in particular. The fifth one is about coordination and monitoring case management steps. Because when you are implementing, there's a need to monitor. There's also a need to coordinate. The coordinator and M&E person is usually a very senior person. But of course, you can agree with me that a caseworker assigned a case must have the ability to coordinate each basic steps he or she is carrying out. And at the same time was able to monitor what he or she is doing before reporting that back for the other larger house. And also it is what will come out of these basic applications that the supervisor will be able to provide coordination of at his own level and monitoring also and evaluation at the level of the supervisor as well. So this play both way for the DEX case manager and for the supervisor case manager. This stage will involve regular communication with service providers. Service providers, of course, in social work, is not a social worker alone that provides service to clients. Social workers can provide service to clients and can also assist the client to get services from others. So when that situation occurs, the social worker owns the client, while those who come to provide service are service providers. They are not workers. So you also know that it is a responsibility of the social worker to track progress, both internal progress, that is supervisor to the next person, and external progress, that is on those brought in to also play a role in the intervention of the clients. Then they also actively seek solutions. We don't really need to tell you this. It is our responsibility to actively seek solutions to clients' challenges, provide support, and connect clients with additional resources or alternative intervention when need arises. Yes, these are also embodiment of coordination and monitoring of clients for results. The sixth stage is called advocacy steps. Advocacy step involved in case management in social work is an integral part of the process of case management. Social workers actively advocate for their clients' needs and rights, working to create, obtain. Hello. Sorry for the interruption. Those not speaking must always constantly mute their mic to avoid distracting the class. It is an online class behavior that must be noted. In their role as advocates, the case manager or case workers have to collaborate with a diverse range of stakeholders. I've mentioned this. You have to go and advocate for the right of your client, advocate for what the client can benefit from, advocate for your client to be served. One key aspect of advocacy is empowering clients to make informed decisions. You have to empower clients to be able to make informed decisions about their lives. Like we said, or many of the literature said that once a client is up to 18, it's up to the client to choose what the client wants to do. A client is at liberty to choose or to explain herself. But when a client is under a social work care, that client is actually a client with rights, but also a client that requires some empowerment in terms of being guided or in terms of being given necessary support to make informed decisions about their lives. So we cannot say whatever a client decides to do is the client's life. The client can do whatever he wants to do. No, the client can do whatever they want to do. The client needs to be guided to take informed decision. This is part of the advocacy that is involved in social work case case management. 7 is reassessment steps. As of course, you know that throughout the social work case management process, social workers continually reassess the client status, how the client came in, and what the client is now, what about the client that have gone, and what about the client that is being noticed as new. These are just the basic content of assessment. Then the evaluation of effectiveness of the intervention must also be carried out on periodic basis to make sure that we understand if our plan are to be delivered as expected. Of course, we know that when we say you must do a plan and follow that plan, no plan is cast on stone. During during the part social work case engagement, that is the number one we talked about, which is number one is engagement. So during the engagement period, where you engage a client, assess the client, flag the client, that led to the development of the workable plan, right? If you move into the stage, into your planning steps as listed, and you begin to execute these plans one after the other. In the course of executing this plan, and you realize that one of the plan, or at a point in time, a plan is not going to provide result as expected, or that aspect of the plan is becoming incongruent with the progress of the work, or is going to jeopardize the work, or it is absolutely unnecessary to go, or it can be jumped to the next level of plan, giving the level of results that you have seen. This is why reassessment and assessment is a continuous process, because on a daily basis, like I said, you assess. And I told you also while I was talking that reassessment and alteration of plan doesn't mean as you're talking to your client this morning, you're changing plan. Talk tomorrow, you change plan. No, the change in plan must be scientifically proven. The reason for changing plan must be scientifically proven, and it must yield a desired result as expected. If not so, you might not be able to change the plan as your own singular work. So I would say that reassessment and assessment is a continuous process, but it takes a stronger assessment and reassessment and confirmation by others to change the plan. So the plan is not actually cast in stone, but it's not something that you wake up every morning as your course to you, you change it. So we constantly reevaluate the effectiveness of our intervention and measure the progress that is made towards identified goals of the case management plan. Then reassessment helps us in identifying any changes in the client circumstances, adjusting case management social work case plan template, and also ensuring that the intervention remains relevant and responsive to assessing clients' need. And let's bear in mind that the client needs in case management can be evolving, but we still have to stay on the plan to be sure that it is not a wishful intervention that we are implementing. The last after this, reassessment, a holistic reassessment, in as much as reassessment is a small component of all, but there is a stage in the plan that is actually identified or drawn out specifically to reassess the whole process again, or reassess the client's compliance, or the changes, modification, and intervention made. We have termination stage. So for every process, because I mentioned that casework is a process. For every process, there must be a beginning and an end. Social work relationship with clients is a professional relationship, and is also a contract that is professionally managed. So when you are dealing with a contract, there must be a beginning, there must be an end. So the process takes us to the end when we have been able to address the gaps. It takes us to the end when we have seen significant changes or positive changes significantly in the life of the client. It takes us to an end when we have exhausted the component of our plans. So social workers will understand that the process must undergo a termination plan. And this, like I said, occurs when all these things I've said earlier has happened. So social workers collaborate with the client to reflect on their achievements. You don't close the case on your own. You don't terminate on your own. You don't also open a new chapter on your own. A new chapter is reasonably opened when we have concluded that this case plan has been exhausted. There is an adjustment. There is a different position from where we were before. There is something new cropping up that is impressive. That is when we talk about termination. So these stages of case management social work process ensure a smooth transition for the client and acknowledges the progress made throughout the case management journey, which means that the journey is what has to be done between the clients and the agency. I did mention earlier that each social worker is working for the agency. A social worker is not working for himself. You work for the agency, so you represent the agency, because when you place the client will give you the client. When a client is pleased, a client will give 70% to the desk worker and give 30% to the 30% credit to the agency. In some cases, the client don't get to see the agency because he's seeing the agency through one person. But when a client is displeased, the reverse come up. The client will be saying that this Mr. James is so stupid, and even the stupid local government that employed him too doesn't know their job. So at that point, the client also understand that you are working for an agency. Therefore, every social workers involved in casework must understand the fact that they are not working in their own personal capacity. And that has to be made clear to the clients that they are working for government, they are working with the structure that is on ground, and at point in time to let the clients know that others there's a credit is also there for the system that provided for the person, and so on and so on and so on. So once the we have been able to tease out the advantages we have gotten, the changes that have taken place. I mean, positive change in this case have taken place, and then meeting of our goals, meeting our objectives, meeting our targets. At that point in time, we can terminate. That termination is what we meant by closure. So invariably, a case that has a beginning should, if it's a professional relationship, have an end, get an end on the ground. I've been able to present to you the 8 key stages in dealing with social work case management. If you have questions, you can please present your questions. Briefly, before we talk briefly on the next step for the day. Hello?
Hello, sir.
Hello, please go ahead.
Hello, sir.
Please go ahead.
No question. No question, sir. Well said, sir.
Okay, thank you so much. I want
Okay.
to reiterate or also try to draw our mind. The
Okay, sir.
first stage I mentioned here is the stage of the engagement. Engagement is actually an assessment. It is when you engage that you assess. An assessment is done with questioning.
Okay.
Questions are used to assess
Okay.
because you cannot just look at a client and decide on what to do with the client without actually asking the client questions. So in asking questions, we must be quite logical. The question has to be asked based on observation. The question has to
Okay.
be asked based on what is being said. We have to avoid closing up clients with questions. We don't assume that a client has a tribal mark that look like a Ibadan person, rather than asking which state of Nigeria are you from. We now ask, I want to think you are a Ibadan man. In no way and no circumstance is a social worker allowed to confront during questioning. A social worker asks, does not confront. Social worker does not assume. A social worker does not give impression of knowing, even if the answer is actually on the air. A social worker don't suggest answer to a client. You look at a woman seated, dressed gorgeously with big gele. You say you must be a married woman. I
Yes.
think. You don't think. You simply ask her, marital status, please. If your question pattern is not fitting structurally, socially, and psychologically, you get wrong answers. So it's important to allow clients to provide an answer to whatever you want, regardless of how glaring it looks to you. So that is a very, very serious deal that we must be conscious of. And once a client is seated before you, you must know that you are no longer James, you are no longer Ayo, you are no longer anything. What you are is a social worker. Because this very stage determines if you are going to succeed or fail. Honestly, a lot of effort have been put into cases of over 3, 4, 5 years, only for the client at the end during the closure assessment to say, I didn't tell him I have that problem. He's the one that said that is the problem I have. You say, I say, yeah, you told me, you asked me, I'm sure you have done this before. I say, yes. I didn't want to argue with you. So as much as possible, in this case, 100%, whatever is being used to work out plan for the client must come out from the client, not you. If you have any impression, you have any thought in mind that this thing ought to be like this, it must be put again in a simple way back to the client. But the clients are not to confirm. At the level of this initial interview with the client, clients are not to confirm. Clients are to say. So where client is confirming, because as a supervisor, I will ask you, did the client say this? Did the client say this? Did the client say this? Because if client doesn't say, it's difficult for us to use that as a plan unless we are dealing with forensic social work, which means social work that involve crime, which we expect that exactly what it is might not be told, but we must be able to prove our cues and clues beyond every reasonable doubt before we can implement them. I hope that is clear.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Yes,
So
sir.
invariably, what I'm trying to say is that assessing client needs or a needs assessment of a client is a vital component of case management assessment process. It involves evaluating clients' needs across various domains, which I mentioned earlier, including physical, mental, housing, stability, employment, social, and support network. So if we do not look at how serious that is, it could be difficult for us to deal with the case we have. I just mentioned to you now that assessment questions and question patterns and questioning models are also very critical components. So case management assessment questions play crucial roles in gathering relevant information from clients. You can ask questions and gather irrelevant information. Irrelevant information used for designing a work plan will be stupid at the end of the day. So these questions are designed to explore different aspects of clients' life, including their personal history, current challenges, goals, preferences, and cultural considerations. That is done by allowing the client to speak. That is done without assumptions. That is done, you are not supposed to be a sorcerer. You are not supposed to be, what do I call it, a crystal ball commander. You should look at the client, you say, from the eye I'm seeing is telling lies. You must convince me, convince other reasonable colleagues that those things were not true by writing out how you construed that not to be factual and show good example. And of course, you know that the client assessment is not a one-day deal. You don't get in a hurry to assess a client in the morning. In the afternoon, you don't have a plan. You can assess a client in the morning, reassess the client again the following day or 3 days thereafter, and then juxtapose the first day and the third day discussions to be able to find what is the client dropping and what is the client emphasizing and what is the client also bringing in as new, to be able to know how to be effectively incorporate them in your plans. So invariably, case management questions, assessment questions, and questioning pattern, the mode or how to do the questioning is very, very important. A good example of social work questioning is 5W and H. 5W and H. Who, what, where, when, why, and how. Your question need to start with all this. Once your questions are not starting with this, they are not social work compliant. How is this? Why is this? When is this? Where is this? How is this? If we don't have those leading your questions and coming in the simple terms and one question at a time, You don't say if you answer, just hold on. You tell me why this is it, and when this is it, and this is it. That is not social work pattern of questions. Social work pattern questions come in single questions, one after the other. And there must be logical correlation between one question or the other. If, for instance, a client introduced something new in the middle, a social worker should identify that something new that has been introduced and tell the client, oh, let's keep this as aside. When we are done with this, we come to this. You do not get taken away by a client into something else, and then you forget where you are coming from. So that questioning, engagement is a very crucial role. And we, at this level of learning, must know it and exhibit the mastery of it in our practice. So, in essence, I've been able to inform us that initial assessment is very crucial, and what actually decides plus and minus, strength and weakness of the initial assessment is the questioning and nothing more than that. Do you have any question? Any question?
Wow.
Or how did we understand what we are talking?
Yes, sir.
Does this
For
make
me,
sense to our practice?
yes, very, very well, sir. Oh, yes,
So,
sir.
I have a question on the termination stages, sir. Who decides that? Sorry, sir. Who decides that the case should be terminated after the whole process? Is it
Yes.
I
the
don't know that.
client,
So go ahead.
or is it the client or the social worker, sir?
Is the case that decides that.
Okay. Yes.
The case decide. Social worker say, oh, I'm satisfied, I can go. That's not how it's done.
Okay.
The client say, okay, hey, in fact, I'm in order now, I can go home. That's not how it's done. It's when you sit to do evaluation. When we do evaluation, evaluation will determine if case should be terminated,
Okay.
or it should be referred out, or another line of intervention should be introduced.
Okay.
I hope it's clear.
Yes, sir.
So it's determined by the case.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Any other one? Any question? Any other question? Do we have any other class after this? Hello?
Hello,
Yes, sir.
sir.
We are with you, sir.
Do we
I
have
don't
another
think,
class
sir.
after this weekend?
No, sir.
No.
Okay. So what I will
No,
do
sir.
is to get, when do you have exam on this?
You have not been informed, sir.
We have not been told, sir.
But the class ends today.
Really?
I'm asking.
No, sir.
We don't know, sir.
I'm not aware, sir.
It's okay. Just get in touch with the coordinator to inform me.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Thank
Have
you
a
so
nice
much,
weekend.
sir. God bless you, sir. And you, sir.
sir.
Thanks
Thank
for
you.
the
Thank you so much, sir.
We really enjoyed the class, sir.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, sir.